petition of 10,000 signatures or more. I
Mr.
call the
Assistant Speaker.
member for Tamworth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Almost all of New South Wales is now suffering from an extended dry period, which is expected to continue throughout the winter and potentially into spring and into summer. Some of the worst hit areas have been the Hunter, Central Tablelands, Central West and far west of the state. We are dealing with one of the most severe agronomic droughts in memory, with producers quickly approaching a critical decision point around sowing, destocking and other farm business. Unfortunately, Mr. Assistant Speaker, it also appears unlikely that the seasonal conditions will return in the short term. This petition is only playing politics, misrepresenting the approach of the New South Wales Government to this very important issue, and playing down the support and assistance measures available to our primary producers. Mr. Assistant Speaker, the New South Wales Government has prioritised our farmers and allocated over $1 billion in drought assistance measures. Earlier in the year, in February, the Minister for Primary Industries, Niall Blair, met with drought-affected farmers in the Hunter, as well as other regions right across the state, to hear how they were dealing with conditions and to hear the opinions on the New South Wales Government's initial $300 million drought strategy. In April, Deputy Premier John Barilaro also travelled across the state, visiting drought-affected farmers in the Tamworth region to see firsthand the effects of the drought. In May, the Primary Industries Minister and Deputy Premier again visited farmers in the Bathurst region, and the member for Bathurst, the Honourable Paul Toole, was in attendance. And as this motion suggests, later in May, the Premier visited farmers in Dubbo to announce the appointment of the New South Wales Drought Coordinator. What we heard and what we continue to hear from farmers, both in person and through the work of the New South Wales Drought Coordinator, is that the government's drought strategy is having real benefits, but of course more can be done. That's why in June the Premier announced a boost of $284 million to support the available for drought to the support available for drought-affected farmers, which I note was welcomed by the New South Wales Farmers Association. This boost included $250 million for the Farm Innovation Fund to improve farm infrastructure, $25 million to build Doppler radar weather stations in the Central West and Far West to deliver fast, accurate and live weather updates to help our farmers make timely business decisions about when to sow, harvest crops or move stock. $4 million for mental health supporting communities facing natural disaster and drought, and a streamlined kangaroo management plan to reduce kangaroo numbers in drought-hit areas. On this side of the House, we recognise the importance of our farmers and will continue to stand by them through this challenging time, and that's why, in July, this government released a $500 million emergency drought relief package. This package includes $190 million for drought transport subsidies, as called for in this petition, $100 million for cutting the cost of farm fees and charges by waiving local land services rates, waiving fixed water charges in rural and regional areas, and waiving Class 1 agricultural vehicle registration costs, among other initiatives, and $150 million to bolster the Farm Innovation Fund infrastructure program. The New South Wales Department of Primary Industries has also been working with the new technology data sources and tools to better predict changes in seasonal conditions. It has brought these data sources and technologies together in a new system to better inform farmers, industry and government. The state seasonal update provides us with a picture of how New South Wales is travelling and what our farmers are facing, and while providing a useful tool to assist decision-making around livestock management, cropping and farming. The state seasonal update includes a new cabinet combined drought indicator, which is more sensitive to deteriorating conditions than other methods, so producers can make better informed farm and stock management decisions earlier than previously possible. Right now, the combined drought indicator is painting a grim picture, with almost half the state in drought and over 15% in intense drought. Madam Speaker, the situation is very serious and this government's taking it very seriously indeed. The actions we've taken are the actions of a government whose most senior members are keenly engaged with the challenges faced by members, are also as members in regional communities are doing. These are the actions of a government whose members are determined to listen and to see for themselves how these conditions are affecting people so they can respond appropriately. Mr Assistant Speaker, I encourage primary producers, their families and communities to visit the Drought Hub website or contact the New South Wales Rural Assistance Authority for assistance.
Thank you. Consideration of the petition of 10,000 signatures or more will continue. I call the member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. And I guess just what we saw then is just indicative of this government. We've got a member coming in here to speak first on a petition that was given to me to lodge in this place, which I did, and to besmirch the name of Belinda Jane Davis, the Walkley Award nominee, who's actually in Brisbane tonight, for the work that she has done in drawing the attention of this government to the big dry, to the drought in our state. And this is the disgusting politics that they go on with. And it really gets me going. And I tell you what, this is just the icing on the cake of the mismanagement of this government of this particular issue, and with their federal mates, their failure to do anything for people in rural Australia. And we've seen it on all the by-elections that have happened over the last 18 months. We've seen people in the bush know, Mr Temporary Speaker, they know that the Nationals are not standing up for them. They know about the intergovernmental agreement and how that was supposed to fix things, but the federal deputy leader then, Barnaby Joyce, wouldn't actually do anything to get that up and running. And I have been with the Honourable Mick Veitch, listening to people in our community. We've been at round tables back in December last year. We didn't wait till May, June, July. The member for the Hunt, for Port Stephens, Shadow Minister for the Hunt, and myself, the member for Paterson, we met with Scott McDonald. We said, how about you get us some tankers from emergency services? How about you share some water? There's people out there who cannot put any water on their vegetables that they are growing for market. There are people going broke. There are people who don't even have water to drink. Do you know what it was? Lots and lots of letters written, lots of representations made, lots of media, but this government just sits on its hands and then throws money out too little, too late. And that's been their response all the way along. I've got people in my community who have had to sell the last of their breeding stock. What is going to happen to them? The sustainability of their jobs, of the businesses that they have run as farmers. What about all the associated businesses that are impacted by this when they lose their business because the farmers have gone broke? We've got badly targeted programs. We've got childcare centres around the state are saying we don't know what to do with this money. We don't know how to get it into the farmers' hands. We know about people in the far corners of the state who haven't got a cent, who've got none of the help. This has been a completely botched and mismanaged process from the day one, and day one was 6 months too late at least. We've had rural aid, buy-a-bail facility fundraisers done. In my electorate, the National Party member from the Upper Hunter didn't even bother to turn up. We're all there, all the Labor people are there, and all their traditional voters are saying, well, where's our local member? Where's the Nationals on this? And of course, no, not there, because they don't care two hoots about people in their communities. And 13,000 people signed this petition. They weren't the inner city trendy types, they weren't the Greens, they weren't people that you don't see as your people. They were your people, Mr Temporary Speaker. They were the people that probably, sadly, in 2015 put a number one next to these people on the ballot paper. And how have they been let down? And how will they make their feelings known on the 23rd of March? And I hope they do, and I hope they see that disgusting speech put by the member for Tamworth. What has he done personally to lift a finger for these people when we know that we have been there advocating for the community, advocating for the farmers, to deaf ears of this government? Millions and billions of dollars in this term have been put and wasted on overspends on big infrastructure projects, while our farmers have struggled even to the point of not wanting to be here anymore. And all they get told by this government is, we'll send you some counselling, that'll fix it. Well, I tell you what fixes it: some money, some assistance, some ability to continue their businesses, some ability to actually keep their animals alive, to ensure that their families have got water, to ensure that their kids don't have to go without anything again this Christmas because this government's too lazy to act. We know that this was going to be a big dry, as if you can't read the bomb stats, as if you can't work out. December 2017, our people were in crisis. coming to us, telling us that local land services weren't going to be able to give them. And even this week, yesterday, there was a motion in the upper house to try and give some help to local councils, to try and do anything we can do to help the people in our rural communities. And what's happened up there, yet again, this government closes its ears, closes its eyes, and they just won't help. Well, I tell you what, March 23rd next year, I welcome everyone to make this clear.
Thank you. Thank you. In the continuation of the discussion on the 10,000 signature petition or more, I call the member for Mile Lakes.
Well, Mr Speaker, there you heard it. There you heard it. There's the typical rubbish coming from the Labor Party. Playing politics with something so important to rural and regional New South Wales. Too little, too late. Well, she hasn't done any research in this matter, the member for Maitland, because if she had, she would know this government put $300 million on the table in 2015. 2015, the Liberals and Nationals launched its $300 million drought strategy focusing on preparedness, improved decision-making and targeted support for rural communities. That was there right from there. All up, we've put in, so far, $1.2 million towards the drought, something that we keep on looking at. And also, we do this in support of and together with the community and the National Farmers Federation, the New South Wales Farmers Federation. And as they've raised the issues, we have responded to it. And on top of that 1.2 million, may I say, also $1 billion out of the sale of the poles and wires in water security, and from that $1 billion, $500 million for a pipeline to Broken Hill. Now, it mightn't matter to the member for Maitland, but I tell you what, the people in Broken Hill are very, very happy that that pipeline's going in. Very, very happy indeed. And isn't it fantastic? We've got a member there. Now, isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting that here is the member for Maitland, heard in silence. No one was rude enough or crude enough to interfere with what she had to say. But as soon as someone says something that she doesn't like, in here, interjecting and carrying on. Also, on top of that, we've also had strategies which included transport loans and subsidies for animal health purposes, a rural resilience program. We were being advised by the New South Wales farmers not to reintroduce fodder subsidies and the transport subsidies. But when it got to a point when we spoke with them about it, we did introduce it and made it retrospective back to January this year. That's how fair dinkum we are about it. You know, it's okay for the member of Maitland to come in, a fly-by-night, going into areas and that sort of thing, but we live it, we breathe it, we're part of it all the time. And it also affects my area. I've got dairy farmers whose feed bill's gone from $300 a tonne to $500 a tonne, which means it's over $500 to, over 59 cents a litre when they only get 50 cents back. So we're all feeling it. Every single community, even on the coast, we're feeling it. And for her to come in and say the Nationals don't care, well, the people out there do know that we care. The people know that we're working together with them to make our communities better. More money gone into those communities than ever before, not only in infrastructure, but also improved services and amenity in those areas, and the money for the drought packages. I've spoken to my dairy farmers and other farmers. They're very, very happy with what we're doing. But the one thing about a drought is we know we're in one, we know we'll have another one, and so we can only do as much as we can do for them.
Thank you, the member for Mile Lakes. The continuation of the discussion on the petition of 10,000 signatures or more, I call the member for Cessnock.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker, and I want to thank and acknowledge all of those people that took the time to get the petition up, to get it filled in, and to voice their concern about the inaction of this government. There's one thing about petitions, and that is, if the job's already being done and being done well, no one will sign the petition. So to say that the petition was pointless, or that people don't know what's going on, or that all of those people out there don't understand what they're doing, is essentially to say that 10,000 people out there, basically this government and the two speakers we've already had, have basically called those 10,000 people out there silly. And that, I guess, is a nice summary of the last 8 years, and in particular the last 12 months of this government, where, and quite frankly, the people are out there saying, you are not doing a good job, you are not doing enough. And we come in this chamber every day and this government stands up and announces whatever they announce and suggests that the people should be out there applauding for them. Well, the reality is that people's lived experience is not connected at all to the language being used in this chamber. And I want to talk about something called efficiency dividends that this government has been rolling out, because quite frankly, in the 8 years you've been in, you have cut 15% out of the recurrent budgets of every single government agencies, and the National Party has been asleep in the wheel, at the wheel. And while that was happening, 6,000 regional public service jobs gone. They're recurrent. That's money going into those economies every single year. Well, actually, no, you know what? It's not going into those economies anymore because the National Party have been asleep. I have been travelling around the state over the last couple of years, and I'll tell you what I've seen in the drought. Fair enough, the farmers are doing it tough. We all know that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening for them through generosity and charity of people in the community and some activity of the federal and state governments. But you know what's invisible now in the local communities and economies? Money. Money is not changing hands and passing through the businesses because obviously the farmers have got no money because it's a drought. Normally, a public service, a good, strong public service in a regional community would normally be able to carry the economy of a drought-affected community during the very hard times. But guess what? Those 6,000 jobs at an average of $50,000 a year each, $50,000 a year each, you are taking $300 million out of regional communities that could have been going through the hairdressers, could have been going through the cafe, could have been going through the petrol station and the tyre shop, could have been going through the local bowling club and all of those things. But that money, guess where it's gone? The North West Rail here in northern Sydney. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Liberal government and the Libs in Tans Pants that call themselves Nats. You have sold out your communities at the worst possible time, the time of drought, so that a train in Sydney could be built. Shame on you.
Thank you. Thank you. The member of Upper Hunter,
seek leave to make a
is leave granted?
Yes. No, because they stop us every time.
Every time.
No, so leave's not granted. Sorry.
Well, that's disgusting.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the standing orders. Leave is not granted.
What would you know about farming?
Order.
What would you know about farming?
I'll ask all
Definitely
members of
what
the
would you
House
know?
to resume their seats. The petition having been concluded, we will now